In February 2025, the cryptocurrency exchange Bybit, one of the largest in the world, was plunged into chaos. Over a few short hours, a digital phantom drained its wallets of $1.5 billion in Ethereum. This wasn't just a hack, it was a state-sponsored heist, the largest of its kind in history. The culprit, according to global intelligence agencies, was North Korea. This is the story of how the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, one of the poorest, most isolated, and heavily sanctioned nations on Earth, built a digital empire of crime. It's the story of how the Hermit Kingdom became cryptocurrency's #1 supervillain. To understand how a nation crippled by its own ideology could become a leader in cyber warfare, we must first understand that ideology itself. The foundation of North Korea is a philosophy known as Juche. Introduced by its founder, Kim Il-sung, Juche is a doctrine of absolute self-reliance. It is built on 3 pillars: political independence, economic independence, and military self-defense. In practice, this has meant prioritizing the military and heavy industry above all else, often at the devastating cost of food production and the well-being of its own people. While nations like China integrated market principles to fuel their growth, North Korea doubled down on a rigid, centrally planned economy. The result was severe underdevelopment and periods of catastrophic famine. And yet, within this rigid framework, a strange contradiction exists. While the state publicly cracks down on private markets, academic journals quietly debate the need for foreign trade. They argue that Juche doesn't demand a closed door, but rather serves as a framework to acquire what is necessary for the nation's survival. This reveals the truth. Juche is not a static economic blueprint. It is a flexible propaganda tool, reinterpreted to legitimize any action the regime deems necessary for its own survival. And nothing has made more actions necessary than the crippling grip of international sanctions. The Korean Peninsula's history of colonization and a devastating war has fostered a deep-seated desire for independence. But after the Korean War, North Korea's economy, once comparable to the South's, was propped up by its communist allies. When the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s, that lifeline was severed. North Korea was left almost entirely alone. Then came the nuclear tests. Starting in 2006, the United Nations Security Council began imposing sanctions. At first, they were targeted, but after North Korea's 4th nuclear test in 2016, the floodgates opened. The world imposed a comprehensive economic blockade, targeting everything from mineral exports to banking. The impact was catastrophic. North Korean exports plummeted by a staggering 90%, falling from nearly $3 billion in 2016 to just $280 million by 2019. The nation was effectively cut off from the global financial system. But these sanctions, designed to force compliance, had the opposite effect. They created a vicious cycle. Provocations led to sanctions, which incentivized more sophisticated illicit activities to bypass those sanctions, which in turn funded further provocations. The immense economic pressure didn't crush the regime, it forced it to evolve. It forced it to find a new lifeline, one that existed beyond the reach of traditional laws and borders. It turned to cryptocurrency. For a regime cut off from the global banking system, cryptocurrency was the perfect tool. It's decentralized, difficult to regulate, and can be moved across borders in an instant with near anonymity. It was a way to bypass the financial blockade entirely. But this wasn't just about keeping the lights on. The funds generated from these digital heists had a single primary purpose: funding the regime's ultimate insurance policy, its weapons of mass destruction. The United Nations estimates that cyber theft now accounts for nearly 50% of the funding for North Korea's ballistic missile program. Between 2017 and 2023, the regime stole an estimated $3 billion. That number continues to grow exponentially. This isn't just crime. It's a core component of their national security strategy, an existential priority. To achieve this, North Korea cultivated an army. Today, a force of over 8,000 state-sponsored hackers operates under the direct command of the Reconnaissance General Bureau, the nation's premier military intelligence agency. At the tip of this digital spear is the world's most infamous state-sponsored hacking collective, the Lazarus Group. Their methods are a chilling blend of social engineering and technical sophistication. It often starts with a message, a LinkedIn request from a fake recruiter, an email with a job offer attached as a seemingly harmless PDF. The target, an employee at a crypto firm, clicks the file. In an instant, their machine is compromised. Malicious code, like the apple juice or manuscript Trojans, is deployed, giving the hackers a backdoor into the company's network. They are also masters of the supply chain attack, compromising legitimate software used by their targets. The record-breaking Bybit hack was made possible by exploiting a vulnerability in a trusted software platform the exchange used. And now, they are weaponizing artificial intelligence. Microsoft has confirmed that North Korean hackers use large language models, like the one powering ChatGPT, to research targets and automatically generate flawless, sophisticated phishing campaigns at a scale and speed that is almost impossible to defend against. Their strategy even includes a human element. The regime dispatches thousands of its highly skilled IT workers to countries like China and Russia. Using forged identities, they secure freelance employment contracts with businesses around the world, including in the US and Europe. These workers then send up to 90% of their wages back to Pyongyang, generating hundreds of millions of dollars. But more insidiously, they can act as inside men, providing intelligence and access for future cyber attacks. But stealing the crypto is only half the battle. The real art is in the escape. How do you launder billions of dollars in stolen digital assets without getting caught? Historically, Lazarus relied on cryptocurrency mixers like Tornado Cash, services that scramble transactions from thousands of users to make them untraceable. But as global law enforcement began sanctioning these mixers, North Korea once again adapted. Their new strategy is one of overwhelming force. They flood the zone. Within hours of a heist, automated systems splinter the stolen funds into thousands of smaller transactions. This digital blizzard is sent across a web of intermediary wallets. They use decentralized exchanges that don't require identity verification to perform rapid token swaps, moving funds from Ethereum to Bitcoin to Solana and back again. They use cross-chain bridges to hop between different blockchains, creating a tangled, chaotic trail that is designed to overwhelm compliance teams and blockchain analysts. The entire process is a race against the clock, shrinking the window for authorities to freeze the assets from weeks down to mere hours. This is a digital arms race. As investigators develop new forensic tools, North Korea develops new ways to stay a step ahead, constantly pushing the boundaries of financial obfuscation. The fallout from this digital campaign is global. The direct funding of North Korea's nuclear program represents a clear and present danger to international security. But the threat goes deeper. By exploiting the vulnerabilities of a new financial technology, the regime is systematically undermining trust in the entire digital economy.
The international response has been a mix of sanctions, law enforcement actions, and calls for greater cybersecurity. The FBI and DOJ have successfully seized millions in stolen funds and continue to sanction the tools and individuals involved. But these are tactical victories in a war of attrition. The simple truth is that the current countermeasures are struggling to keep pace with a threat that is evolving so rapidly. North Korea's transformation into a cryptocurrency supervillain is a stark lesson in modern geopolitics. It shows how extreme pressure can create unforeseen and dangerous adaptations. The regime has proven that in the 21st century, a nation doesn't need a robust economy to project power and threaten the global order. This is a new front in modern warfare, a conflict fought not on battlefields, but on blockchains. A digital arms race where the keyboard is as mighty as the missile, and the prize is not just money, but survival.